The last social system we're going to look at is the Indian social system and its caste system and the patriarchal systems that are set up in India during the Gupta and Maurya empires. Now, to start us off here, we're going to look at that caste system. We've looked at this a little bit in class, but just as a um, way to go over it again and make sure you understand it. The caste system is set up by Hinduism, and it and what it says is that your caste is determined by your birth, and this cannot be changed. And they justify this through the ideas of karma and dharma, where dharma is this is what you're supposed to do. You can't raise yourself out of it, and if you follow your dharma, you will have good karma, and therefore you will rise up in the caste system or the castes. While if you do not follow your dharma, you will go lower in your caste. So you have four main castes that the majority of people are in, but then you have one caste that's outside of all of it that does all the really, really dirty work. And so at the top, you have the Brahmins, who are the priests and leaders of the kind of spiritual realm. Then you have the Kshatriyas, who are the warriors and rulers of the political realm. Then you have the Vaishyas, who are the merchants and landowners and would be skilled laborers. And these three groups make up what is known as the twice-born group, meaning that they have gone through the cycle of life at least once, been reincarnated at least once, and therefore are eligible to reach moksha. Now, this wasn't originally what happened. Instead, it was originally only Brahmins that could reach moksha, but as a reform to Hinduism, it came up that the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, or Vaishyas could achieve moksha. Now, the Shudras are the lowest of the castes that are acknowledged, and they are the servants, they are the day laborers, the farmers, they do the unskilled jobs. And then the lowest of the groups is the untouchables, which aren't even part of the caste system, and they do the dirtiest of the dirty work. They pick up the dead carcasses of animals, and they deal with funerals for people. They are the ones that clean up fecal material and other waste. Deal with garbage. They do all the disgusting, dirty stuff because the Brahmins and other classes don't want to deal with it because that would uh, affect their cleanliness, and you need to be fairly clean to reach moksha. And so they are pushed out, and they are forced to sometimes wear at different time periods clappers or bells or whatever to make noise to let people know that they're coming around so that people can clear the streets and not be deemed impure by interacting with them. Now, within each caste, and those castes we talked about, the Brahmin, Kshatriyas, all those are known as Varnas. There is a jati for each one, and these are subcastes. And these determine what profession you're going to have. And again, this is determined based on your birth. So if your father was a blacksmith, you're going to be a blacksmith. Or you're going to be married to a blacksmith if you're a woman, because your family stay linked in that jati. Everything is determined by that. And so these jatis are a way to, one, support each other. They're able to help each other out in the towns or in the neighboring regions that they live in. So they link them together, but they are also a way to give possibilities to marriage because you can only marry within that jati. However, if you don't follow the rules of the jati or you try to marry outside it or below it, whatever it is, you can be expelled from that, and that can lower you down a varna, or it can lower you down outside of the caste system, depending on how bad your actions were. Now, each jati is different with the jobs, and their ranking is different. It can be different from region to region or time period to time period. At some time, a blacksmith might be the highest jati in the Vaishya class or something like that. But at a later time period, it might be the carpenters that are deemed the greatest. And so it will change time to time or region to region. But with this rigidity and with the ideas of people being able to only reach moksha in the upper castes, this will push some people away from Hinduism, and it will lead them to become Buddhists. And we'll talk about this more with at the end of the women's section here in the patriarchal system. So, women do not have many rights. Men are the head of the household. Women could advise what should happen in the household. They can advise on the arranged marriages that they set up for their sons and daughters, but they did not have as much authority as the man does. Women are deemed less spiritually than men, even though Hinduism calls for equality. The patriarchal system works its way into the religion and says, sorry, women, you cannot reach moksha. Instead, you are viewed as possibly less than any of the castes, and that um, you need to follow your dharma throughout your life, so then you can be reincarnated as a male in the Brahmin or Vaishya or Kshatriya class. So then you can reach moksha. And to complete their dharma, they are supposed to, if their husband dies before them, perform the ritual of sati, where they jump on their husband's funeral pyre while they're still alive. Now, because of practices like sati and the inequalities, some women, when Buddhism comes around, will go and say, "Hey, I'm not practicing Hinduism anymore. Instead, I want to become a Buddhist." And they will go and join the Buddhist monasteries and become Buddhist monks. And this gives them the ability to become near equals or more equal to men than what was possible before. And this is the same thing that happens with lower caste members. Those are the Sudra and the Dalit class, or the untouchables. They will join Buddhism because Siddhartha Gautama did not discriminate based on anyone's caste. He said anyone can be a Buddhist, whether they're a Brahmin or a Dalit or whomever, as long as they wanted to try to practice to end their suffering and achieve nirvana. So Buddhism becomes an escape for all this for some people, but the majority of people, as we see in India, will follow Hinduism, and that's why it's still the major religion in the country today. But there were some ways and some ideas away from the system, but for the most part, most people follow this patriarchal system with men at the top controlling what women could do, and with the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, the warriors, at the top, telling people what they could and couldn't do.